In the next 3 minutes, you'll learn why nothing and nobody will ever hurt you the same way again. Have you ever wished you could be unshakable, someone who doesn't fall apart every time you're criticized, rejected, or betrayed? Maybe you're exhausted from trying to look strong when deep down you're breaking, tired of pretending that nothing gets to you. But here's a truth nobody ever tells you. As long as you keep running away from pain, it will keep controlling your life. The more you try to numb yourself, to hide, to protect that fragile part of you, the more power you give to everything and everyone around you. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists of all time, said, "We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become." And today, I want to show you exactly how facing what you fear inside will become the moment you finally feel free. If you're ready to stop pretending and finally start living with real strength, hit subscribe and let's take this journey together. 1. The illusion of external control. Have you ever noticed how a single sentence can ruin your entire day? Maybe it's something small, like someone saying, "You're too sensitive," or a boss criticizing your work in front of everyone. A woman on Reddit shared how her father once said, "You'll never be good enough," when she was only 12. She's now 35, and every time someone raises their voice, she feels like a scared child again. That's the invisible wound, an old pain that never fully healed. And here's what almost nobody admits. It's not really what happens on the outside that keeps hurting you, it's the story you keep telling yourself about it. When someone ignores you, your mind whispers, "See, you're not worth caring about." When a friend forgets to call, you think, "I'm always the last priority." This narrative becomes so automatic, you don't even realize it's a choice. It's not the words, it's what they awaken inside you. Think about it. 2 people can hear the same comment and react in completely different ways. One person shrugs it off and moves on, the other spirals into shame and self-blame for days. The difference isn't toughness, it's what unhealed pain is still alive under the surface. Carl Jung said it perfectly. We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become. But how do you actually choose differently when your mind keeps dragging you back to old memories? Stay with me because in a minute I'll walk you through a simple exercise to start breaking this cycle. Let's look closer at the trap of control. Most of us believe that if we try hard enough to be good, smart, or kind, people will stop hurting us. We think, if I'm perfect, nobody can reject me. This is such a human wish, to control how others see and treat us. But the truth is brutal. No matter how perfect you try to be, you can't make the world safe. A man in a Facebook group shared how he spent years trying to earn his mother's approval. He bought her gifts, called every day, ignored his own needs, only to hear her say he was selfish. He kept thinking, if I can just prove I'm good enough, she'll finally love me. But the more he tried to control her feelings, the more empty he felt. Control is an illusion. Awareness is freedom. The more you cling to control, the tighter your chest feels. You live in constant tension, always scanning for the next threat. You try to predict every reaction, rehearse every conversation, build walls so high you can't see over them, and you wonder why you're exhausted all the time. If you're tired of living in fear, keep watching, because soon I'll show you how to let go without giving up your boundaries. Imagine this. You're standing in the ocean, waves crashing against you. You tense every muscle to stay upright, to stop the water from moving you. But no matter how strong you are, the waves keep coming. You can't control the sea. The only thing you can do is learn to float. Instead of trying to make the world stop hurting you, You learn to notice what inside you still believes you deserve the pain. Instead of bracing against every wave, you ask, what part of me still feels unworthy? Try this simple step tonight. Write down the last time you felt hurt. Name the exact words or actions that triggered you. Underneath, write the story you told yourself. Maybe it was, I'm not enough, or I don't matter. Finally, ask yourself, when did I first feel this way? You'll be surprised how often the answer goes back years. This is not weakness. This is honesty. And only by seeing the wound can you start to heal it. The wound is where the light enters you. Remember, awareness doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. But when you stop trying to control every outcome, you free yourself from being a hostage to other people's actions. You start to realize that even if someone criticizes you, it doesn't mean you're worthless. Even if someone leaves, it doesn't mean you're unlovable. I know this isn't easy. It takes courage to admit you can't control everything, but the moment you do, your entire life begins to feel lighter. In the next part, I'll show you how your unconscious mind shapes every reaction and exactly how to start reclaiming your power. So don't go anywhere. You're closer than you think to finally feeling free. 2. The power of the unconscious. You probably think you make your own choices. You decide who to love, what job to take, how to react when someone lets you down. But what if I told you most of those decisions are not really yours? They come from hidden places inside you that you never chose but that still control you every day. I once read a story from a man on Reddit who shared how every time his girlfriend said she needed space, he felt this deep panic, as if he were about to be abandoned forever. He knew it wasn't logical, she just needed a little time alone. But he would call her 20 times in a row, then feel ashamed and angry with himself. He wrote, I don't know why I do this. It's like something takes over my body and I can't stop. That is the power of the unconscious. These buried parts of you are not just old memories you can forget. They are alive. They have a voice. They pull your strings like a puppet. The next time you overreact to something small or sabotage something good, I want you to remember this moment, because it's not about willpower. It's about a part of you you've never faced. Carl Jung explained it clearly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You might think your anger comes out of nowhere. You might feel waves of sadness that make no sense. But none of this is random. They are messages from your deepest self, asking to be seen. One woman shared in a Facebook group how every time her boss criticized her, she would spend hours crying and replaying the conversation in her head. Finally, she realized it wasn't really about her boss. It was about her father, who never told her she did anything right. She was still trying to earn his approval decades later. This is what I mean when I say the real battlefield is inside. You've probably spent years judging yourself for these reactions. Maybe you call yourself too emotional, too weak, too much. But I want you to know condemnation doesn't set you free. It just keeps you stuck in the same cycle. When you ignore the unconscious, it doesn't disappear. It simply finds more creative and painful ways to get your attention. This is why you end up in the same toxic relationships over and over. This is why you always find a way to ruin good things before they get too real. This is why, even when life is calm, you feel anxious for no reason. This is not bad luck. This is not destiny. This is the part of you you keep trying to outrun. Stay with me, because soon I'll teach you how to stop running and start listening. I know this can feel scary. It's hard to admit you're not fully in control. But there's something beautiful on the other side of that fear. When you finally turn around and face what's hidden, you stop being a prisoner. You start to become whole. Imagine for a moment you're carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks. You've had it since childhood. You never look inside. You just keep walking, hoping if you pretend it's not there, the weight will go away. But it doesn't. It only gets heavier. Now, picture yourself setting it down, unzipping it, and slowly taking each stone out into the light. At first it feels overwhelming, but with every stone you remove, you feel lighter, freer, more alive. Tonight, try this simple practice. Before you go to sleep, close your eyes and think of something that triggers you often. Maybe it's feeling ignored or being criticized. Ask yourself, where did I first feel this? Where did this fear begin? Just notice what comes up without judging it. This is the first step to making the unconscious conscious. Remember, you are not broken, you are not too sensitive. You are simply carrying stories and wounds you never asked for. But now you have the chance to set them down. If you're still here, it means you are ready. You're ready to look deeper, ready to heal, ready to stop living on autopilot. In the next part, I'll guide you into the process of integration, where you finally bring all these hidden parts into the light so they can no longer control you. So don't go anywhere. You deserve to know how powerful you really are. If any part of this feels true for you, just type yes in the comments, and if it doesn't, type no. I'd love to know where you're at. 3. Integration over defense. You might think that the way to stop getting hurt is to build higher walls around your heart. Maybe you've already tried that. You tell yourself you don't care anymore. You act like nothing can reach you. But late at night, when the world is quiet, you can still feel that ache in your chest. I once read a story on Twitter from a man who said he had mastered the art of not caring. He called himself unbreakable. He said he hadn't cried in years. But one day when his partner left him, he found himself on the kitchen floor, unable to breathe. He wrote that all the sadness he had pushed away finally came back all at once. This is what happens when you defend instead of integrate. When you keep shutting down your feelings, you don't stop them from existing. You just bury them deeper, and anything buried alive keeps growing stronger in the dark. People think being untouchable means being cold. They think it means never letting anything bother you. But that isn't real strength. Real strength comes from knowing exactly what you feel and why you feel it. Take a moment right now to consider this. The problem isn't that you feel too much. The problem is that you've never learned to sit with those feelings without shame. Carl Jung once said, "Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when touching a human soul, be just another human soul." That is what your hidden self has been asking for all this time. Not more judgment, not more pretending, but acceptance. Pause and let that sink in. You don't become free by building armor so thick nothing can touch you. You become free when you realize that nothing outside you can destroy what you have already accepted inside. Think about it. If you know you sometimes feel insecure, those comments about you not being good enough lose their power. If you've faced your fear of being alone, you stop settling for people who treat you poorly just to avoid that emptiness. Here is something I want you to remember. You are not here to become perfect. You are here to become whole. Stay with me because soon I'll share a simple practice you can start tonight to help you begin this process of integration. Let me share another example. A woman on Reddit described how she used to avoid conflict at all costs. She said she would agree with things she hated just to keep the peace. Inside, she felt like she was disappearing. Finally, she started therapy and learned that her fear of conflict came from childhood when her parents fought violently. She wasn't weak. She was protecting herself the only way she knew how. But as an adult, that protection had become a prison. This is why defense always backfires. What once kept you safe can keep you stuck. Imagine you're holding a beach ball underwater. You press it down with all your strength, trying to keep it hidden. But eventually your arms get tired. The ball pops up higher than before, splashing everything around you. This is how emotions work. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Tonight, try this simple step. Close your eyes and think of something you keep trying to push away. Maybe it's shame. Maybe it's anger. Imagine you are sitting across from it at a table. Instead of fighting it, just say, "I see you. I hear you." You don't have to hide anymore. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. You might worry that if you stop defending, you'll fall apart. But here's what you will discover. What you are afraid will destroy you is often the very thing that can set you free. You don't have to keep living as a puppet to your defenses. You can learn to observe instead of react, to choose instead of panic, to respond instead of hide. If you are still watching this, it means you are ready. Ready to start being honest with yourself. Ready to feel without shame. Ready to trade your armor for awareness. In the next part, I'll walk you through exactly how integration works and how it can help you build a sense of self that nothing and nobody can shake. So don't go anywhere. You deserve to live without pretending. 4. The process of individuation. If you've made it this far, you already know something inside you is ready to change. You're tired of feeling like you have to be someone you're not just to be accepted. Maybe all your life you've tried to fit into boxes that never felt right. You learned how to be who your parents wanted, who your friends expected, who your boss needed you to be. But you never really learned how to be yourself. Carl Jung called this journey individuation. It's the process of becoming who you really are, not who you were trained to be. One woman shared on Reddit that she spent 20 years in a career she hated because her family believed it was the only respectable choice. She said every morning she woke up feeling empty. She did everything right on the outside, but inside she was losing herself. It wasn't until she had a breakdown that she realized she had never asked what she truly wanted. This is what happens when you spend your life performing instead of living. Most of us are taught that we need to fix ourselves, to get rid of the parts we don't like, to be more perfect so we can finally be worthy. But individuation is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming whole. Take a moment and let that sink in. You don't have to keep cutting off parts of yourself to be loved. Instead of trying to kill off your insecurities or deny your fears, you learn to bring them into the light. You say to them, "I see you. I know you're here. You're part of me, but you don't get to control me anymore." Stay with me, because soon I'll share a simple exercise to start this process yourself. Think of it this way. You are like a stained glass window. Every color, even the dark patches, creates the full picture. When you try to remove the pieces you don't like, you don't become more beautiful. You just lose parts of what makes you real. Jung said, the more you run from pain, the more it chases you. The more you try not to feel, the more fragile you become. This is why no amount of pretending will ever make you strong. True strength comes when you have the courage to face yourself without judgment. I read an article in Psychology Today about how unresolved shame can keep us stuck for decades. A man shared how he spent years believing he was unlovable because of mistakes he made when he was young. He kept trying to prove himself by working harder, staying busy, and never slowing down, but the shame didn't leave. It just got heavier. Only when he finally stopped running and began to talk about his past did he start to feel free. The same is true for you. If you keep avoiding what hurts, it will always hold you captive. But when you turn toward it, when you allow yourself to feel it, you begin to realize it can't break you. Imagine sitting in a quiet room with every part of yourself, the parts you're proud of and the parts you're ashamed of. Instead of arguing with them or hiding them, you just sit and listen. You say, "You are all welcome here." That is the start of individuation. Let's pause for a moment so you can feel that possibility. You don't have to keep performing. You don't have to keep proving yourself. You can be exactly who you are, messy, imperfect, and still worthy of love. Tonight, try this simple step. Take out a piece of paper. At the top, write, "Who am I when no one is watching?" Then spend a few minutes answering honestly. Let whatever comes up be okay. It might feel scary to see yourself without the masks, but I promise you it is also the most freeing thing you will ever do. Stay here with me, because in the next part I'll show you how to transform your pain into the very source of your strength. You are closer than you think to finally feeling at peace. You deserve to live a life that feels like your own. If this video resonates with you, or if you see something that could be clearer or more helpful, please leave a comment and share your thoughts. Let me know what spoke to you and what I could improve. Your feedback helps me make better content for you and everyone else watching. 5. Suffering as a messenger. Most of us grew up believing pain is something to avoid at all costs. Maybe you heard it as a child. Stop crying, toughen up, don't let anyone see you hurting. You learned to hide your tears, to smile when you were breaking, to act like nothing could touch you. But what if all this running from pain is exactly why it keeps following you? I read a story from a woman on Reddit who said she spent years pretending everything was fine. On the outside, she looked strong. She had a good job, a family, and a perfect smile. But every night she lay awake with a heaviness in her chest she couldn't name. When her marriage fell apart, she realized she had been carrying sadness for years, but never gave it a voice. She wrote, "The day I finally admitted I was hurting was the day I started to heal." This is what Jung meant when he said suffering is not an enemy, but a messenger. It is your soul's way of getting your attention. Think about that for a moment. What if pain is not here to punish you, but to show you what needs your love? You probably spent most of your life trying to stay busy to keep from feeling too much. You distract yourself with work, scrolling your phone, taking care of everyone else. But no matter how fast you run, your feelings always catch up. When you ignore pain, it doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. It becomes anxiety that tightens your chest. It becomes anger that explodes over small things. It becomes numbness that makes everything feel gray. Stay here with me, because in a minute, I'll guide you through a practice to help you face this pain without fear. Jung had a powerful image for this. He said, "Depression is like a woman dressed in black. If she appears, don't chase her away. Invite her in, offer her a chair, and listen to what she has to say." Imagine that for a second. What if instead of running, you sat down with your sadness as if it were an old friend, what would it tell you? This is the moment most people avoid, because facing pain feels like admitting defeat. But the truth is the opposite. Only when you let yourself feel it fully can you finally release it. I read an article on Psychology Today about how unresolved grief often turns into chronic anxiety. A therapist shared that so many clients come in thinking they are broken because they can't stop feeling sad. But underneath that sadness is always a story that was never spoken. Your story deserves to be heard. Let's pause here to let that sink in. You don't have to keep fighting your own heart. You don't have to pretend you are fine when you're not. When you allow yourself to feel what hurts you, discover that pain is not as powerful as your fear of it. Imagine standing in a burned-out forest. Everything familiar has fallen away. The old trees are gone. The ground is black and silent. But under the ashes, new seeds are waiting to grow. This is what happens when suffering strips away everything you thought you needed to be okay. You discover what's real underneath it all. Try this simple step tonight. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes and think about the emotion you've been avoiding most. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's shame. Imagine it sitting across from you. Instead of pushing it away, ask it, what are you trying to teach me? Just listen, without judgment. This might feel scary at first, but I promise you this is how healing begins. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fix everything today. You only need the courage to be honest about what you feel. Stay with me, because soon I'll share how to take everything you've discovered and begin transforming it into a new kind of strength. You are closer than you think to feeling free. Remember, you are not weak because you hurt. You are human, and in your willingness to feel is the seed of your greatest power. 6. The Journey of Individuation. Most people never walk this path. The path of individuation is not comfortable. It does not give you easy answers or quick fixes. It asks you to leave behind everything you thought made you who you are. That is why so many people turn around before they even begin. They go back to the surface, where it feels safer, where they can keep pretending. I once read a story on Reddit about a man who said he spent most of his life trying to be what everyone expected. A good son, a good husband, a good employee. He wore the mask so well that even he forgot it was a mask. But when he lost his job and his marriage at the same time, he realized he had no idea who he was without those roles. He wrote, "I felt like I was dying, but now I see it was only the end of who I pretended to be." This is the dark valley Jung described. The place where all your illusions start to crumble. Let's pause and let that image settle. You are not your achievements. You are not your traumas. You are not the perfect image you created to survive. All those things are layers you put on to feel safe. But surviving is not the same as living. Individuation is life calling you beyond survival. It is your unconscious pushing everything you hid to the surface so you can finally see it clearly. Stay with me, because soon I'll guide you through a simple practice to help you begin this process yourself. Jung said, individuation requires the dissolution of the persona, the mask you wear to fit in. Imagine taking off a costume you've worn for decades. Underneath it, you might feel exposed, you might feel raw, but you will also feel honest for the first time. This is why real transformation hurts more than any rejection from the outside, because you have to admit to yourself that much of what you believed was true about you was never really yours. It was borrowed It was inherited. It was a survival strategy. Think about it. You don't need to be loved by everyone anymore. You don't need to win every argument to feel worthy. You don't need to appear strong every moment of every day. When you know who you are, nothing outside of you can take that away. Let's pause here so you can feel the power of that truth. True emotional armor is not a hard shell. It is a strong core. It is knowing that you have faced your own darkness and survived. That you have looked at your fear and shame and said, "I see you, and you don't get to run my life anymore." This is where you stop reacting and start responding. This is where you stop living on the surface and begin to inhabit the depths. Stay with me, because later I'll share how to keep going when this path feels lonely. Because there is a price to this kind of freedom. Loneliness. Not because you are unlovable, but because few people are willing to walk this deep. Most people will stay on the surface. They will keep wearing their masks. They will tell themselves it's easier that way. And when you begin to free yourself, you will feel the distance. But this distance is not rejection. It is maturity. You are not walking away from others with pride. You are simply realizing you don't fit where you used to hide. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. Behind you is the life you have outgrown. In front of you is everything you haven't discovered yet. Most people will never take that step, but you are here listening because some part of you knows you are ready. Ready to leave behind who you thought you had to be. Ready to meet the version of yourself you've never allowed to exist. Tonight, try this small step. Sit quietly and write down one role you've been performing. Maybe it's always being the caretaker, or always being the achiever. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I stop playing this role? Just notice what comes up. No judgment, only curiosity. You don't have to let go of everything at once, but you can start by seeing it clearly. That is how individuation begins. You've come so far on this journey. Together, we've uncovered why running from your pain only makes it stronger, and how facing it with honesty is the first step to becoming whole. You've learned that real strength doesn't come from building walls, but from understanding what lives inside you. Remember, clarity is what protects you. When you know your triggers and your patterns, the world loses its power to break you. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still hurt, but you don't lose yourself. Imagine waking up each day, no longer afraid of what others might say or do. Imagine feeling steady even when life feels uncertain. That's the freedom waiting for you when you choose to dive deeper instead of staying on the surface. If this message spoke to something inside you, I invite you to take one small step today. Write in the comments, "I choose awareness." Let this be your quiet commitment to live with more truth and less fear. And don't stop here. The next video will guide you even further into this process of transformation. It's an important part of this path, and you deserve to keep going. Real change only begins when you keep showing up for yourself. I'll see you there.